Ever wondered how the Israel-Palestine conflict, one of the world's most enduring disputes, originated? To understand, we must journey back to the late 19th century. It was then that the Zionist movement began, encouraging Jews from across the globe to migrate to Palestine, their ancestral homeland. Our next stop is 1917, a pivotal year marked by the Balfour Declaration. This statement from the British government expressed support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, stoking tensions with the native Arab population. The plot thickens as we move into the mid-20th century. The horrific events of the Holocaust intensified global sympathy for the Jewish cause, culminating in the creation of the State of Israel in 1948. This act, while seen as a refuge for Jews worldwide, was viewed by Palestinians as an encroachment on their homeland. With the formation of Israel, the stage was set for a conflict that would shape the Middle East for decades to come. The birth of Israel in 1948 was not met with open arms by its Arab neighbors, was it? The establishment of the Jewish state triggered the First Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence in Israel, or the Nakba, meaning disaster, in Palestine. This war resulted in profound displacement, with an estimated 700,000 Palestinians fleeing or being expelled from their homes. The conclusion of the war in 1949 led to a series of armistice agreements between Israel and its neighboring states of Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria. The demarcation line drawn by these agreements, known as the Green Line, became the de facto border of the State of Israel. Then, in 1956, simmering tensions boiled over again with the Suez Crisis. Israel, along with Britain and France, invaded Egypt in an attempt to regain Western control of the Suez Canal and remove Egyptian President Nasser from power. As borders shifted and tensions escalated, the seeds of the modern conflict were sown. 1967 marked a turning point in the Israel-Palestine conflict, didn't it? The Six-Day War, a swift but dramatic military campaign, saw Israel capturing significant territories: the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, East Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights. This occupation marked a new chapter in the conflict, one that still resonates today. In the aftermath, the UN Security Council passed Resolution 242. The essence of this resolution was the principle of land for peace. It called for Israel to withdraw from occupied territories in exchange for recognition of its sovereignty and the cessation of hostilities. Yet peace remained elusive. Further complicating matters, Israel began establishing settlements in these occupied territories. This move drew international criticism, seen by many as a violation of international law. Yet it persisted, entrenching the occupation and exacerbating tensions. The occupation set off a cycle of violence and counter-violence, further complicating the path to peace. This period entrenched the conflict, and its repercussions are still felt in the present day. The late 20th century saw a rise in Palestinian resistance, didn't it? The First and Second Intifadas, or uprisings, were significant periods of intensified Palestinian protest. The first, from 1987 to 1993, was largely a grassroots movement. The second, however, from 2000 to 2005, was more violent and had far-reaching effects on Israeli-Palestinian relations. In the midst of this turmoil, the Oslo Accords, signed in 1993 and 1995, offered a glimmer of hope. They proposed self-governance for Palestinians and a promise of peace. But the journey to peace is often fraught with obstacles. One such hurdle was the Camp David summit in 2000. Despite the best efforts of Israeli, Palestinian, and American leaders, the summit ended in failure. Disagreements over key issues such as the status of Jerusalem and Palestinian refugees proved too divisive. Despite numerous attempts at peace, the conflict remained as intractable as ever. So, where does the Israel-Palestine conflict stand today? In the present day, Israeli settlements continue to expand in the West Bank, a process deemed illegal by international law, yet supported by a number of Israeli administrations. Jerusalem remains a contested city, with both Palestinians and Israelis claiming it as their capital. Meanwhile, the Palestinian political landscape is divided. Hamas governs the Gaza Strip, while the West Bank falls under the Palestinian Authority. These two entities often find themselves at odds, both ideologically and politically, further complicating the peace process. Recent events have also made their mark. The Abraham Accords, a series of agreements normalizing relations between Israel and several Arab states, have shifted regional dynamics. While they've brought Israel closer to its neighbors, Palestinians fear they're being left behind. As the conflict enters its second century, the quest for a just and lasting peace continues. For many, hope persists, but so too does the reality of a deeply entrenched and complex conflict.